Welcome back to episode 89 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. Almost every show. You've missed like one, right?
I did. Missed one.
Oh, I've got the longer streak than you currently. But yeah, I'm always here with you. It's Wednesday. Feels like there hasn't been a Stanley Cup game for about 2 weeks. But we'll get into that in a second. Anything going on, Troy?
Nope. Not a lot going on. Baseball practice, all that fun stuff, baseball games. But besides that, actually, it does start next Monday, Minnetonka summer training program. So it's back to the grind for the high school hockey.
Not a real long break.
Nope. But at least it's only 3 times a week for the summer.
Yeah, that's nice. Tomorrow is also the last day of school for our kids, so we got that to look forward to. We're going to have our kids around our house 24/7. We're already counting down the days till school starts next fall. But before we get going, just want to remind everyone the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on the support from listeners like yourself to help us keep the show going, cover our expenses, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and help us fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. Right now, there are still 9 spots. Still 9. We're stuck on 9. Where you can be one of the first 99 supporters of our show. It's only $5 a month. It gets you access to our Gong Show Discord server, where we've got an awesome community that chats daily there. Super easy to do to support us. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and click on the Become a Patron link. Or if you'd want, just go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description for the podcast app you're listening to us on right now. Or finally, in our link tree, which is in our Instagram and TikTok profile. All right, Troy, you ready with the game plan?
On today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 89. Then we take a look at the hot mess that is the Stanley Cup Finals. We follow this with hobby news. Then we have on Billy Celio from Upper Deck to talk 2021-22 Fleer Ultra and 2022-23 Extended Series. I'm going to call it that, Josh. It's your favorite release of the year, Extended Series. Pleasantly surprised.
Ooh. Pleasantly surprised. We're going to get into it.
Next, it's off to our weekly PWCC Auction hockey card preview, and we end the show with listener mailbag. All right, we are on episode 89. The greatest NHL player to wear number 89, per the Hockey Writers' greatest player to wear each number article, is Alexander Mogilny. Not as much controversy this week, I don't think. We got some notes about the whole Eric Lindros thing, and I get it. But like I said, I just take it from the article. He'll be the next 88, I promise you. Promise you Lindros will be the next one if we get around to it again.
A lot of hobby drama.
Hobby drama.
Around Eric Lindros.
Yeah, I get it, though. I get it. There's an argument there. All right, let's talk about Alexander Mogilny. Right winger. Oh, boy. From Kaborsk. I sound like a Swedish chef. Kaborsk. USSR, Soviet Union, whatever you want to call it. Mogilny was the 89th overall pick in the 1988 NHL entry draft by the Buffalo Sabres. Mogilny played in 990 regular season games over a 16-season NHL career. Mogilny started his career with 6 seasons with the Buffalo Sabres. This was followed by stints with the Vancouver Canucks, New Jersey Devils, Toronto Maple Leafs, and ending his career back with a season with the New Jersey Devils.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I used to like Alexander Mogilny when I was a kid, and I was just trying to remember why. So, when he was drafted, I was like 12, 11 years old, something like that. And there was not the internet, so you couldn't follow these guys as much. Hockey was never on TV. It was basically box scores in the newspaper and hockey cards. And I think I just liked his name. Is that right?
I had a subscription to, I think it was the Hockey News. That's how I got my hockey update. I had the subscription to that. And then I think ESPN was around back then. I do remember seeing some hockey stuff. But yeah, you're right. It was a lot of reading the paper. It forced me to read the paper, I guess, which was a good thing. But yeah, Mogilny's sweet. I was always a fan of him as a kid. All right, his awards and accomplishment. One-time Cup winner in 2000 with the New Jersey Devils. One-time Lady Byng Award winner. 6-time NHL All-Star selection. two-time NHL second All-Star team selection. He is a member of the Triple Gold Club. He has a Stanley Cup, an Olympic gold, and a World Championship gold medal.
Can I say something?
Yep.
I no longer like Alexander McGill. In that stupid
after
club.
The Triple Gold Club. All right, he was number 89. It's crazy, the number 89. He is the 89th draft pick in that draft. And now he's number 89 in the Athletics Greatest 100 NHL Players of the Post-Expansion Era. I put one on here. This one is interesting. Not in the Hall of Fame. We will get to that in a bit.
Oh, exciting.
Like you said last episode, put a pin in it. We're going to get back to it. All right. Over the course of his playing career in the regular season, Mogilny had 473 goals, 559 assists for 1,032 points. Made the playoffs in 12 of his 16 NHL seasons, compiling 39 goals, 47 assists for 86 points in 124 playoff games played. Best season of his career from a point standpoint was his 1992-93 season where Mogilny had, check this out, 76 goals, 51 assists for 127 points in 77 games played.
Over under that total for Connor Bedard next year.
I'm going to go under.
Me too.
I'm going to go under for that one.
Can you imagine, though, if anybody scored 76 goals last year, the hobby would lose its mind.
That's one of the things I was reading. I mean, the argument for him, it's like, you got to remember, I'll bring up some stuff on why that number is really important, but it's like, we go bananas when someone hits 55, 60 goals now, just how the game is, but it's pretty incredible.
I always think of Timu a lot, too, when we look at rookie stats and be like, Matty Beniers' year compared to Timu Solani was gross and hideous.
Mogilny did score 70-plus points in 7 of his 16 NHL seasons, scoring 100 points in 2 of those seasons, or 100-plus points in 2 of those seasons. He has also scored 30-plus goals in 8 of his 16 NHL seasons. Also, Mogilny had 2 seasons of 50-plus goals, with his best season, as mentioned previously, was 76 goals. So here we go. This is where we're going to get back to that goals. In the history of the NHL, only 6 players have ever scored more than 75 goals in a season. Of these 6 players, 5 are in the Hall of Fame. Those 5 players are Phil Esposito, Timu Solani, Brett Hull. My notes, I misspelled Mario, and it says Marion. That is not right. Mario Lemieux.
Cousin.
Yeah, cousin Marion Lemieux. Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. The only player to score more than 75 goals in a season and not be in the Hall of Fame is Alexander Mogilny.
Is it the 473 goals?
We'll get to it. Yep. Okay. We'll kind of get to some of maybe some reasons why he's not in.
I keep trying to push the pin out, and you keep pushing it back in. But I'm putting it back in.
All right, so the Hall of Fame, this is where we're going to get around the Hall of Fame. Mogilny has been eligible for the past 10 years. I'm going to make a statement. I think it's a wrong that needs to be righted. I'm putting my stake in the ground here. Before we get into the Hall of Fame stuff, let's think about Mogilny. Let's talk about his background a little, because some people might not know. Mogilny defected to the USA after the 1989 World by getting on a flight from Sweden to the USA with Sabres head of player development, Don, and I think it's Lucci, it's Luce, and general manager Jerry Meehan. Again, I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but again, it's a guy, he risked everything to get to North America so he could play in the NHL. And the crazy thing about this whole Mogilny thing is that being in the Soviet Union and playing for them, obviously they weren't going to let you go. This was back when it's like, you're staying in the Soviet Union. However, when this whole plan was being hatched, the Soviet Union officials actually caught wind of the plan and heard that Mogilny was going to try to defect. So Mogilny and the 2 Sabres management people basically had to go into hiding for 2 days while in Sweden before they could get a flight and get out, because they were so worried that they were being followed, being tapped, phone lines, all this stuff. But they got him out. And now I don't think I really knew this. Mogilny was the first NHL draftee from the Soviet Union to defect to the NHL. I guess in the past, a lot of Soviets would be drafted at the end. teams thinking, well, they're probably never going to get to the NHL, but we're just going to draft them in case they get them over here. But Mogilny was the first NHL draftee to defect from the Soviet Union. Mogilny's defection opened the doors for other Soviet players, such as Slava Fetisov, Igor Larionov, and Sergei Makarov. Also, once
so he kind of paved the way for Fedorov and Bure, right?
Well, that's the next line. I was taking a deep breath. So you get Mogilny to defect. Guess who comes next? Fedorov, and then I think Bure followed in the next seasons to come. I can't remember exactly what order they were in or when they came. And then within a few years of that, now Soviet players are kind of the norm in the NHL. So Mogilny actually opened the door for the whole Soviet Union era players to come to the NHL. So we got that. That's one piece. I think that's an important part of his history, too.
Mm-hmm.
During his playing career, and especially during his early NHL career, Mogilny was actually, I got this line, I can't remember where I read it, but he was a walking human highlight reel. Exceptional skater, tremendous offensive skill set. I watched, I think it was a 20-minute video on his career highlights. Pretty amazing. Effortless skater, speed, could just make defensemen look silly, making him turn the wrong way and fall over. It was pretty crazy to watch. It was actually a lot of fun to watch. Why isn't the man in the Hall of Fame? So some of the reasons I found or I could think of on my own, he never reached 500 goals. Who knows if that's people are holding that against him. He never won a Hart Trophy. In fact, he wasn't even voted ever in the top 10, I don't think, which is kind of nuts. He doesn't get credit for being the first Soviet star in the NHL. Definitely was. He was the first one to open the door. And this one, I don't know how much this plays into it. Mogilny was known as not being the nicest person during his playing career. In fact, a couple of things.
You have stories? Because I want more.
I don't have stories, but a couple of things I read said he was a jerk or just not very nice.
Really?
So that's one thing. I don't have any stories. It's just quote. That could be something that's being held against him too. So there's all those reasons. Currently, Mogilny is the president of HC Amur of the KHL. So I don't know. If you look at his stats, his meaning to the game and bringing Soviet players in, he's got a cup. I think at some point he gets into the Hall of Fame. I think it's just a matter of time. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but I think it's eventually going to happen. So that's my current take. Like I said, it's a wrong that needs to be righted at some point.
I kind of feel a little bit that hockey is similar to baseball, and because baseball has these sort of arbitrary Hall of Fame qualifiers, right? Where you have to have either 3,000 hits or what is it? How many home runs or
you're like 500 home runs or something.
500 home runs or something like that. Where the 500 goal thing, I think, is a little bit real. But he did win a Stanley Cup, and I think you're right. And his defection story is very significant to the NHL. So maybe he did ruffle a lot of feathers.
Yeah, could be. It is what it is. So we'll see what happens going forward with his Hall of Fame nomination, or if he ever gets in. All right, fun/interesting facts. Where's number 89? As that was the year he arrived in the United States, and also the overall number he was picked in the NHL draft. That's why he's number 89. Check this out. At the 1989 World Juniors for the Soviet Union, here's your top line. Pavel Bure, Sergei Fedorov, and Alexander Mogilny. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good line right there.
Not too bad. I'm sure they played together since they were two.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In some Russian hockey academy as well.
I'm sure. Mogilny was the first Russian to captain an NHL team. Here's another not-so-nice moment. Mogilny was suspended for 10 games for slapping a linesman. Now, I did go watch the video. Slap is a very strong word. He more shoved a lineman, like kind of shoved him away. But again, you can't do that. All right, that was my fun facts. Interesting facts. His rookie card, now we're going into the depressing era. His rookie card is a 1990 OPG Premier number 75. PSA 10 has a pop of 641 with a gem rate of 50%. It goes for a whopping $33 US.
That's hefty.
Yeah, it's hefty. The BGS 9.5 has a pop of 155, gem rate of 41%, and really goes between $20 and $50 US, depending on subgrades. after looking at so many subgrades, I just get bored. But it ranges in 20 to 50 US dollars. So you can have at it if you want a PSA 10 or a BGS 9.5.
I don't know if I'm interested in that, but this has rekindled something deep inside of me. And now I'm curious if there's like some limited logos or
maybe
other more modern cards that maybe like from the Cup patch autos. No, nobody go buy them. This is my connection to my childhood here. Don't make it more expensive for me.
You better get on TCDB. Start searching.
I don't even know if there's a market for him. It is weird though that for such a good player to seem almost entirely irrelevant at this point.
Yeah. Anything 90s, we just got the junk wax era immediately. So I'm sure that plays into it too.
Agreed. Well, now this next segment, we're going to call Troy and Josh from the Hockey Cards Gongshow talk about the Stanley Cup Gongshow.
Complete.
Holy smokes. It is a total gong show at this point. Game 2, Troy, was a blowout with the Golden Knights dominating the Panthers 7-2. I kind of think, though, it might be the most entertaining blowout ever. Yeah. I was not bored at all during this game, was thoroughly enjoying myself. And in looking at the box score, I saw a total, Troy, of 9 misconduct penalties handed out by the officiating crew. 9 times. Is that some sort of record? I didn't take the time to look it up.
No way that's a record. There's like, you had when Boston, when they went into the stands and started fighting people, there's been, the 70s were a rough time in the NHL. We'll just say that.
Of the 9, it includes 2 misconducts for our guy, Matthew Tkachuk, giving him a total of now 3 in the first 2 games. So he's got 1 goal and 3 misconduct penalties in the series.
Yep.
He did have a goal in game 2, but it's in a 7-2 loss, so who cares? So what's your opinion, Troy, of Tkachuk's, we'll call him, antics? Is he completely out of control and hurting his team at this point? Or do you think there's a quote-unquote method to his madness where he is doing anything and everything to agitate to try to get his team going? Where do you fall?
I will say, if they win game 3, there's a method to his madness. If not, then he's just, I don't know what he's doing. Even though I did crack up when he hit the stick out of the guy's hand. Like that to me was hilarious. And the ref just looks at him and just like gives him the toss, like you're gone. Or you're going.
He's such a punk in like the most awesome ways.
I know.
Like in the hockey hugs when like when everyone's like grabbing the collar and then he just throws like a sucker punch right and he's got the mouth guard hanging out in his mouth. And
I mean, I get it. I do think he's probably gonna have to dial it back though. You can't keep getting these penalties and these misconducts. And even I know what the score was. I know you probably thought you were out of it, but at some point, we need you, or sorry, I say we, like I'm a Florida pie. The Panthers need him on the ice. And just, even if they're down, maybe to make some kind of comeback. You never know. But I think he does have to kind of chill a little bit.
As much as he gives it out, though, he gets. And this is one thing I'm learning to appreciate about him. Did you see the play where he basically got shoved into the Panthers' goal? And then gets up, and then Adin Hill starts like.
I did. Yeah, Hill starts going at him.
But in those instances, he's not like retaliatory.
No,
he just skates on and kind of has a little smile, and so I do respect the fact that he will take a beating as much as he'll give it. And then there was the whole Jack Eichel hit, which looked horrible at first, and it looked like basically separated Eichel's soul from his body.
Yeah.
But as a lot of people have talked about now, and you can see by watching the replay, it was really dumb on the part of Eichel. And I guess this is a good note to all the young hockey players that might be listening. Keep your head up.
Yep.
Especially when you're in the middle of the ice. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah, and keep your head up and don't toe pick. Because he didn't try to toe pick, but there's that part too. But completely clean hit. I think everyone in the world agrees it was a clean hit. Just looked terrible.
Thankfully, Eichel is okay. You don't want to see him get hurt on a play like that. And, here it is, Troy. Could have called it. The struggle bus is back again. Now, last time, I think it picked up basically half the universe.
Yep, got the
hockey card market.
Yeah, hockey card market got picked up.
one sole lonely guy that the struggle buses are here for this week. It's your guy, Officer Bob, yep. Sergei Bobrovsky. So Bobrovsky entered the Stanley Cup Finals incredibly hot, winning 11 of 12 games, stopping 438 of 465 shots for 1.95 goals against average, .942 save percentage. Hard to get better than that.
Mm-hmm.
But through the first 2 games of the Cup Finals, he's let in 8 goals in just over 4 periods for a hefty 5.22 goals against and .826 save percentage. Yikes. Well, what's happened to our guy Bob here, Troy? Was a layoff too long? Is something else?
It's a combination of everything. The layoff probably was too long now that you think of it, now that you see how he's performing. And Vegas is just better right now. Completely better team. They're not melting down. They're not getting involved in a lot of they're not taking the dumb extracurricular penalties until the really end. Then they got a couple last game when everyone was getting penalties. But yeah, Vegas is just playing really hot, and I do think that layoff kind of hurt him. I didn't think it would. I thought he could get through that, but when you're a creature of habit and you're in a hot streak, worst thing in the world is to have whatever it was, 9 days off. I don't know what it was, 10 days.
I'm not the goalie coach, but I have 2 observations about him. Number one is it seems like Vegas is doing an excellent job of screening him. They're making it real miserable for him to try to locate where the puck is. Mm-hmm. And then for the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, I remember distinctly hearing this repeatedly, but everybody's been saying you got to go high. Everyone was shooting low on Bobrovsky, and Vegas, most of their goals are being scored in the upper part of the net. Mm-hmm. And so those could be 2 factors. Now, I have seen, I wouldn't say a ton, but a fair amount of people suggest or ask, would you start Lyon ahead of Bobrovsky in Game 3 at this point? I want to get your opinion. My thought is, no, you're here because of Bobrovsky.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I start Lyon. I know, I get the thought and the perfectly. I just get it. You need a change. I just don't think you start Lyon over Bobrovsky right now. I get it, but I personally, I wouldn't do it.
So just in general, the Panthers are like in total punk mode right now, and there seem to be more emphasis on that than in playing hockey. I haven't looked in the last day or so, but Racco Gudas got smoked.
Yeah.
And did not return to the game, so that could be a big miss if he's not available in Game 3, which is tonight, Thursday, the night you're listening to this. These long layoffs are just awful. Looking at it from the Vegas perspective, boy, do they look good right now. I don't know what you see in him, Troy, but as physical as the Panthers play, I believe the Golden Knights are giving it back to them and matching their physicality and stronger on the forecheck. They're making it really difficult for the Panthers to advance the puck and really control the puck. For Vegas, Marchessault remains incredibly hot. He had 2 goals in Game 2, scoring his 11th and 12th goal of the playoffs. Also added an assist. Eichel played another solid game with an assist. He did take that big hit, but came back. It was right at the end of the period, I think. So came back right away for the 3rd period. And Troy, is Adin Hill the new Bobrovsky? He's looked really, really tough. 9-3 now in the playoffs, 2.06 goals against, .939 save percentage with 2 shutouts. Stone another breakaway in Game 2 by Carter Verhaeghe after stopping Sam Reinhart in Game 1. To me, he just looks super big, very solid, doesn't seem to give any openings. There's a great article today, too, in The Athletic. We got to get on their payroll. We reference them constantly that talks about just his journey or road to the NHL, and that he was never the anointed one. I think he's from the Calgary area and played with Braden Point and on some elite hockey team, but never had anything given to him, was never a star, and talked a lot about getting drafted in Arizona and kind of having to really wait for a number of years for his time right now to get a shot in the NHL. And one of the things that they said is kind of what maybe separates him a little bit is his size at 6'6" and over 200 pounds, but apparently he's very, very, very athletic. And as you kind of saw in that desperate paddle save that he made the other day, too.
Because he does that yoga.
Yeah, like you said. Pretty rough game for the Panthers. Now the series moves to Florida tonight. We'll see if they have any life in them at this point. What's your prediction? Do you think Florida's...
Well, I'm going to predict Florida wins. But if they don't, it's over, obviously. I think if it goes 3-0, just forget about it. But I'm hoping Florida can find some life, and Tkachuk cannot get a game misconduct or a misconduct penalty.
We'll see at this point. Looking at the hobby view real quick. So starting with Tkachuk, he's a 2016 Young Gun. His PSA 10 popped 769. Actually had peaked on June 3rd, Troy, at $345 US, but has pretty rapidly pulled back. I looked yesterday, and it's kind of all over the place right now. Since that 345 mark on the 3rd, though, it sold as low as 165.
Wow.
And anywhere upwards of 270. So that was more the high mark. If he comes out and has a hat trick or plays well, or you just you believe in him in the long term, I wouldn't pay over 300 at this point. I'd be pretty depressed if I had paid 345 on June 3rd and then a day later. I think it was a day later, somebody got it for 165. Anton Lundell scored a goal in Game 2. If you recall, he had a little bit of steam as a 2021 Series 2 Young Gun. Not a lot of hobby love, though, as you can still get his PSA 10 in the $35, $40 US range. Hasn't changed much. You kind of hear him a little bit where I think some people are still invested into him from when his Young Guns came out. Switching over to Vegas, Adin Hill. Remember we talked, I think it was last episode, his 2017 Young Gun PSA 10 still has a pop of 1. As you can imagine, it hasn't not sold recently. Maybe unless you're his uncle or own that, if you do own that card, you might want to sell it because, man, with the pop of 1, I bet it would go for a decent amount right now.
Yeah,
looking at his 20...
No, I was just going to say with Adin Hill, it's just so hard. How do you get excited about his hobby value? I get it. It went up and stuff, but there's nothing really there. He's 27. He's played 100. I just looked up. He's played 101 games. There's just not a lot of runway for him because now he's in the mid 30s. It seems like there's that super tiny window right now that it will increase in value, but then what happens? Unless he becomes an all-world goalie and wins the Vezina the next 3 years or something. But I just can't get that excited about him.
He's the Andrei Kuzmenko of goalies.
I'm excited about him for his story, but too bad that doesn't translate into hobby love.
Laurent Brosseau, right? Is that he was playing well until he got hurt.
Yep.
They still have Logan Thompson, so something's going to have to give in that goalie situation. Well, who's the other guy too?
Do they still have Robin Lerner?
Lerner. I think they do. I
shouldn't make fun of that. That sucks. It's a bad situation, but
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You're banking on the fact that he's going to be the guy, and if they do win the cup, I think he's definitely the number one goalie.
Yeah.
But as we've seen with Bobrovsky, you can look amazing for a stretch of 10, 15 games, and then the wheels can completely come off in what seems like a blink of an eye. So his raw Young Guns, again, given that there's only one PSA 10, are selling in the $25 to $27 US range right now. And those are 2017. On May 15th, Troy, so 3 weeks ago, $10 card. Now it's $25, $27. We are seeing some positive value movement as well on Jack Eichel's 2015 Young Gun PSA 10, pop 1,011. Last sale on June 5 was for $214 US. That's the highest sale in 3 months. It's up 47% in that span. No, imagine if he actually scored a goal.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then, again, it seems like the Conn Smythe is we're assuming a Golden Knights win here for a second, but was going to come down to Jonathan Marchessault or Adin Hill. And Marchessault, zero hobby love. He's played for a long time. Kind of an interesting note, though, that I saw on his rookie cards. If you're a fan of him or want to pick up a nice rookie, his 2013 Panini Prism, Silver Prism rookie, you can get for like $15 raw. He's with Columbus. He had a hyphenated last name. I think it was Audi Marchessault or something like that at that point.
Oh, really?
And then he ended up dropping it. But that's kind of a cool card. Stanley Cup, Total Gong Show. Want to make a quick mention for Slab Sharks, who's a Gongshow partner and sponsor. Many thanks to them for supporting our show. The current weekly eBay auction ends tonight, Thursday night, so head to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction. Like always, Troy, there's some fantastic hockey cards in this week's auction. If you're a Future Watch Auto collector, there's a McDavid BGS 910, a Crosby BGS 910. How about a 2005 Ultimate Ovechkin Rookie Auto to $299? Really like that card. A 2006 SP Game Used Gretzky Howe Dual Jersey Swatch Dual Auto. Can't beat a Gretzky and Howe Dual Auto card, that's for sure.
That card looks sweet. I'd look that one up.
And then there's I always think of Bedard now when I see these. A 2015 UD Canvas McDavid Program of Excellence PSA 10.
Mm-hmm.
If you happen to be a Canadian hockey card collector and are interested in moving some of your cards for cash, we'd highly recommend checking out Slab Sharks for their eBay consignment services. They make it super easy to sell your cards on eBay because they basically do all the work. So you don't have to list your cards, promote them, or they'll promote them in their weekly auction. They'll answer buyer questions, hunt down payment for your auctions, ship your cards out to the buyer, including they ship to the U.S. So head to slabsharks.com for complete information on their consignment services, including their payout rates. Okay, in hobby news, there's a couple stories that I think are worth mentioning today. Cole Caufield. Montreal Canadiens signed an 8-year contract extension that will go through the 2030-31 season at an average annual value of $7.85 million. In 46 games last season, Troy, the 22-year-old forward scored 26 goals, added 10 assists before getting hurt in January. That required a season-ending shoulder surgery. His contract is actually similar to the extension recently signed by Jack Hughes, which was for roughly $8 million a year for 8 years. And just a hair-over extension signed by Boldy and Dylan Cousins, which were around $7 million average annual value. I don't know. If he becomes a perennial 40-goal scorer, I think this agreement could end up being a good deal and should help the Canadiens reach enough cap room to build out a good team. Thoughts on the deal?
I actually like the deal from the Montreal Canadiens standpoint. Caufield's been on pace, for like 35 goals every season, or to become a 35-plus more goal scorer every year. Obviously, he got injured, but he's still on that pace, and if he can hit that, you're getting him at a bargain for 7.85, or is that what it was? 7.
Yeah, just under $8 million.
Yeah, a little bit under $8 million. So that's a bargain. If he does turn into that 40-goal scorer, that's a pretty good deal. So they're marrying themselves to Suzuki, who also signed a deal that was, I think, at 7.875, just a little bit over what Caufield's is. So you got these two guys that you're pinning your hopes on. But I actually like the deal from Montreal's side for Caufield.
It always blows my mind how, compared to the other big sports, how little these guys get paid. If he was an NBA player,
$50 million, right?
He would make $50 million a year, basically the total.
Helps with, the great thing about basketball is they only got 12 guys, 13 guys on the roster. So
like 14, something like that. But even compared to football, these guys don't. And I get it. Football makes tons more money than the NHL does.
But football, you can be cut anytime and lose all your money.
I like the deal too, though, and I feel like the NHL does a relatively good job of not going bananas over these young guys and handcuffing their team. Because I saw too that he signed for like the tiniest bit less than Nick Suzuki.
Yeah,
and they have Slavkovsky, who knows what it'll turn into. But if they want to build a cup contending team, and if you're getting paid $13 million a year, it's going to be really tough to do that.
Mm-hmm. The good thing too for Caufield too is he's young. I think I just saw this deal expires when he's 30. So if he can produce,
he should be able to get another big.
He can get another huge contract.
Troy, what was your favorite Chris Chelios on ESPN moment?
Just gone. You're gonna. We kind of mentioned it, like I don't know, a month ago. The kind of some of the stuff we saw just watching it, and you kind of make a mention of it. So I'll let you.
I'm curious to see if you agree with me on that, but just to get through the details first. So Chelios, his contract officially is not going to be renewed by ESPN. He had served as a studio analyst covering the NHL. The move is part of a broad cuts at Disney and ESPN. I think they're looking to save like $5.5 billion. Yep. And from what I've read, it kind of intimated that there's going to be a lot of very recognizable names at ESPN that are not going to be brought back. So in these situations, you can't say, well, it's just a total Chelios thing, but when you make cuts, you look for whoever doesn't get along the best, or you perceive the weakest link or least contributor. And apparently he's the first to go there. What I had noticed is I do just look at his body language when PK Subban was talking. And I sort of feel like he didn't like him very much or was annoyed by him.
That's my word. Exactly. I thought he looked annoyed. Like, it literally, like, Subban would start talking, and Chelios, you just see kind of a deep sigh, and he just didn't look like he was interested in what he had to say. Who knows? That's reading body language, but it did look like that.
And if anyone is going to be their star, it's going to be Subban. Yeah. So that's not a good person to be annoyed by, or whatever the correct term. So we'll see. We talked about this before, and I'll just say it again real quickly. I think the TNT package and coverage and crew and talent around how they've covered the game is light years better than ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, TNT has something special with Biz Nasty, Gretzky, in their chemistry. And I have to say this too. Gretzky might look like he's ready to fall asleep every night. He just looks tired, but he'll just spout out some nice gems that you always pick up on. And it was awesome to see Bedard on there and totally give Biz Nasty a bunch of crap, or not a crap, but he said it's great to be on the panel with three, whatever he said, great hockey players and Biz Nasty. That was funny. So I thought, hey, it's the start of the Bedard marketing. This guy has a personality. Build on it, or let's see what happens.
Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of TNT, ratings came out for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. That, of course, all games are airing on TNT. Very grateful for that because I'm, as I just said, not a big fan of what ESPN is doing. So in the U.S., United States averaged for Game 1 2.8 million viewers. This represents a 11% increase when compared to taking the average viewership from a 4 years period, 2017 through 2021. That's nice growth. Game 1, Troy, was also the second highest viewed Stanley Cup final game ever on cable, only behind a Carolina versus Red Wings game in 2002. I think also it's worth mentioning that considering that this Cup Finals is not the dream scenario or two sexiest teams, the fact that the ratings are up so much is very impressive to me.
Yep.
And I think a positive sign for the game.
Definitely a positive sign for the game, and hopefully shows that there's growing interest in the game of hockey, because when you have two warm weather, non-traditional hockey markets and you're seeing ratings increases, that's a good thing.
Okay, we're going to move on to our Billy Celio interview. Billy was gracious enough to join the show today. It's kind of a big day. Well, sort of. Not as big as we thought it was going to be. We did have the extended release today. There was an announced delay with 2021-22 Fleer Ultra Hockey, which we'll get into. It was sort of last minute where we put it together. Troy, you weren't available, so you don't even know what the interview was about yet at this point. In the weird time continuum we're in right now, I guess I'm the only one that knows. But we covered both, because Billy worked on both sets, both the Fleer Ultra set and the extended series release. And I thought Billy made some great points, was very informative. Hope you all enjoy our talk with Billy Celio. All right, welcome back to the show. A frequent guest of ours from Upper Deck. We want to welcome Billy Celio back. It's a big release day it was supposed to be bigger, but we'll get to that in a second. First of all, welcome back, Billy. Great to have you.
Yeah, great to be back on. Thanks for using such an appealing photo of me in your Instagram ad that haven't been made yet, but I'm assuming you will.
It's the biggest picture of a head that is possible to fit in an Instagram photo, and I just want you to be prepared for that, because I know that you've asked for it, so it's coming. Well, let's start with, I woke up really early this morning, was excited to run to my computer and e-pack away and get some Fleer Ultra. What happened? It was supposed to come out today, but it didn't.
You know, there's a lot of cards in Fleer Ultra. It takes time to, all these numbered cards, all these autograph cards and everything, they all have to be scanned by by ComC and EPAC and whatnot. So unfortunately, things just are taking a little bit longer than we anticipated. We thought everything would be done at a specific time. I don't think you're going to see much of a delay. That's one good thing about EPAC. Usually you'll see hobby releases come out on Wednesdays. That's not necessarily the truth on EPAC releases. It can come out any day that we want. So if this takes a day, then it might be out tomorrow. If it takes a couple days, it could be out Friday. So I wouldn't expect too long of a delay on it. It's just a matter of getting some stuff finished up to make sure that that we have images of everything, that all the cards are accounted for, so we don't have any mistakes when the product is released.
Now, one of the things that has been a little bit different, given it's an EPAC only release, is that usually we'll see, like on a Dave and Adams or Steel City or Blowout or Cloud Sanchara in Canada, we'll see pre-sale pricing. Have you guys released what the box pricing is going to be for Fleer Ultra on EPAC yet?
We have not. And you want to know what's even funnier is a lot of times I don't even know what the prices are going to be until sets are released. We usually will look at the current market, and we don't want to undercut our hobby shops. That's been something that we care dearly about, is still protecting the hobby shops. So I honestly don't know. I probably could ask and find out, but sometimes the surprise for me is just as much fun. I built it to a specific price, and we'll just kind of see what that price is when it comes out.
The other huge question about this particular release is the fact that it's an EPAC exclusive. Do you want to run through the thought process there as to how this ended up as an EPAC exclusive product?
We have products that are hobby exclusive. We have products that are hobby and EPAC exclusive. And at the time, we were looking for some more content for our EPAC. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been times where it's almost kind of like a drought. We haven't had new products come out on EPAC for a while. There was a period of time where I think we had, for volume, I think we had more coins than cards. It felt like we had more coins available than cards. So we were just, we're just looking for something to fill space in the EPAC market. We have done an EPAC exclusive before with Fusion, and just wanted to in Compendium. So we just wanted to do something because we haven't done anything in a while. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you took Fleer Ultra. This is such a historic set. Why would you only do it for EPAC?" And the funny thing is, we had Fleer Ultra for a number of years, and it performed all right, but it wasn't like it was flying off the shelves. The time that it was selling really well was when you had your distributors discounting it, and they were getting it for cheaper than the regular price. So like, we didn't just sit there and think, "Oh, let's cherry pick one of the best sets out there." Our Fleer Ultra sets have done very well in publishing, but in hockey, the past few times we did it, they were actually didn't do as well. So we thought we could take maybe some of the stuff that we did in publishing and adapt that to the hockey, and maybe bring back some of the nostalgia of what people did like about Fleer Ultra. And I think we did a really good job that hopefully it'll be back on people's radar. But for people to think that we cherry picked the best brand, I think they need to kind of look at the history of Fleer Ultra to really understand.
That makes sense. There are a lot of people, though, that are excited about this release. And maybe there is something to then the fact that if you have a brand like Fleer Ultra that was more of a mainstay at a certain time in your history, that sometimes shelving it for a few years and then bringing it back can reinvigorate the audience for it. Do you think there's something to that?
Of course. People, I remember when we brought back UD Black, people got really excited. And then that lasted a couple years. And then I don't say the excitement was gone again, but we've attached UD Black now with SPX. But a lot of people also remember Fleer Ultra for like the basketball inserts and baseball inserts. Maybe not necessarily as much for hockey inserts. A lot of times basketball and baseball sets don't necessarily transfer over to the hockey collector, which is something we might talk about the other release that came out today, kind of where Extended has gone from the first year to where it is now. So what we did to try to build a little more hype to it also is we actually had Arena Design work on this set. So all the inserts and base set designs were done by Arena, the original designers of many of the famous and popular inserts from Fleer Ultra back in the day. So I think that'll help it out a great deal. The designs and the cards look absolutely gorgeous.
And then as an e-pack exclusive, there's going to be, so the base cards will be digital only, a lot like how typical e-pack releases work. And then any sort of hit or insert would be a digital plus physical product that can be fulfilled through ComC. Did I say that correctly?
100%. Yeah. And there's 8 cards in a pack. 5 of those will be digital base cards. So there'll be 3 physical packs or 3 physical cards in each pack. It's not like Series 1, you get 1 physical pack. So there's a lot more physical cards available per pack. There's that. And then those base cards that you mentioned usually will have like 1 or 2 different stacking parallels for that. We've actually taken it another step further, and actually there are 3 stacking parallels. You've got your silver foil, you've got your speckle foil, and you've got your gold speckle foil. And these cards, the higher up you get, the better these cards look. Again, a lot of times these digital versions of the cards do not do the cards justice. We had a number of cards mailed to us. I believe we'll put up a video on our Instagram here soon, kind of showing off the cards live and not a scan or not a digital version of it. And you'll be able to see what I'm talking about when you see these cards.
Which ones will be eligible then for those tiered foil, speckle foil, and gold speckle foil?
It's the base set cards. It's the digital base set.
Okay.
There's I believe the silver foil, you'll get it's a 5 stack. And then 5 of those is the speckled foil. And then 5 of those is the gold speck.
Does that include the base set rookies as well?
I believe so. Yes, it does.
Have you guys ever done a gold speckled rainbow before?
I believe we might have done something in entertainment. If we haven't, it's coming. It hasn't been released yet, but I know I've built it before. I believe it's been more in entertainment and not necessarily in hockey.
I think it goes without saying, but I just want to make sure we cover our bases, that then the silver foil on up are then physical cards. So if you are a set collector, you could in theory collect the base set physically through if you had all silver foils, right?
Like there is no version of the quote unquote base set. There's no physical version of the base set. Those are all digital cards. There's nothing that's going out in hobby or on retail or anything. So the design that you see as the digital version of the base cards, when you pull it on a pack of E-Pack, that actual card does not exist. It starts off, I keep saying foil and foil board. So there are foil parallels to the set. You know, you've got a silver foil where it's the card using a silver foil. There's a blue foil, an orange foil, similar to our entertainment where the foil color changes on the set. It'll be like the last name that you see background and the callouts. That changes. And then the stacking cards is a foil board. A lot of people call it like hollow view or whatever, but the technical term is a foil board. So you have your rainbow foil board, you have your speckle foil board, and your gold speckled foil board.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, so just to be clear then, for all the base cards are digital only, but there are various parallels for the base cards, and then there's also E-Pack achievements, and so there will be a number of physical versions for the base card design, but either through parallel or E-Pack achievement.
Correct.
Now, what's your favorite insert that you came? Because I know you say all the time, and frankly, you're right. I get where it's hard to be in your position when you design these cards, and then you're reliant on the scans. But in many cases, the scans don't really communicate how the cards pop or the texture or tactile nature of them, whatever it may be, when you actually get them in hand. So are there cards here that are on the scans or that people could go to Cardboard Connection and see that you would point out and say, when you see this card in person, you're going to think it's so much cooler than it looked maybe in the scan?
Medallions to start with. I mean, those cards are covered in foil and embossed. So it's an embossed foil. There's a lot of texture to it. It reminds you of the old medallion cards that were all foil with a 4-color image of the player. And they shine, they glimmer, they sparkle at you. There's a number of different colors. You got your gold, your platinum, your ruby red, sapphire blue, emerald green, and your black. And then there's even There's an achievement color in there similar to an orange. There's numbered to 200, 150, 25, 10, and a 1 of 1. And then there's the regular ones that come like every other pack. But even the regular ones, they look amazing. So I'm excited about medallions. I didn't want like a repeat of just background that said gold medallion, whatever, or medallions in gold. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to stand out, and they do. Something that people can't see in the scans also, the Ultra Stars, the exclamation points, those are PETG cards with deco foil or Spectrum deco foil on it. So those cards, for some reason, they haven't shown well in the examples that we've given. Like, you can't even tell they're on PETG or acetate, which I like to call it, and the foil. So those are real nice cards. This set, the first set that we're building here, it's a lot of inserts that people are going to remember. And we didn't necessarily want to pick up the exact design that we did before. When you have Arena designing your stuff, you don't want to ask them to just remake or to copy the exact design that you had the year before. You want to give them the opportunity to add on to the legacy of that insert. So stuff like Rink Masters, Pizzazz, the Fabulous 50, it's kind of, there was an older insert, but this has to do with, 50 goal scorers. The Ultra Abilities, Scoring Kings. We changed a few, like there's an insert called Power in the Slot. There was a basketball insert, I think it was called Power in the Key. One of the craziest designs is actually our Padmen. They were able to really take it to the next level. Like the die cuts on there, imagine like a net, and it's all die cut out. All the holes in the net is die cut out. It's ridiculous. So the Padmen cards look amazing.
I'm looking at that right now. So that's a goalie specific card. Yep. And I'm looking at the Shesterkin example, and it says Padman, and he's standing like what looks like a net. But you're right. It's got to be 100 different cutouts of the net in there. I have this question about Padman, but it's kind of about all the cards too. One of the things that Troy had asked me to ask you, because of course he can't be here today, is like for Fleer Ultra Marvel, they were all very thick cards. Mm-hmm. Are the physical cards for Fleer Ultra Hockey similar in that they're all really thick, or are they normal card with?
They're normal cards. They are they're your 20-point cards. We didn't want to go super thick on these cards. The sports Fleer Ultra does not have that legacy. The entertainment ones do. So we want to make them different. When I build Fleer Ultra sets for entertainment, there's some similarities, but there's also a lot of inserts that are specific towards publishing, Marvel publishing.
And then are all autographs in Ultra, are they all sticker autos, or is there any on card or hard sign cards?
They are sticker autos. Sorry to disappoint the on card diehards.
Another insert that I have a question about is the Pucks insert. Is that a die cut card?
That is a die cut card, yes. It's kind of a play off of an old basketball insert from, I believe it was LeBron James's rookie year. And we changed it into more like, I wanted to be more shaped like a puck. And then Arena had their own idea to incorporate more design work to it. So, but it is a die cut card.
So if you had to pick what's your absolute favorite card out of the set, which is the one that you kind of gravitate most from an aesthetic standpoint and you just like the best?
So I'm going to say two. Well, I already said how cool Padman was, but that just goes without saying if you see it. The one insert that I haven't mentioned, which is something new, it will be in other Fleer Ultra sets, but this is actually the first one that it got made. So that's the Fleer Ultra Pop Culture. We used original artwork and kind of made, like pop art, like a pop art thing where you have one image that's done 4 different ways. And then one of the cool things is you can then collect all 4 of those different color combos, and you can get the 5x7 achievement card of all 4 cards together. So that's kind of cool. And then, I mean, you'll probably ask the question, oh, you know what? I know you're going to ask me the question, so I won't say it's one of my favorite ones yet. But there's the Ultra Team insert, and it's based off of the original Ultra Team, I believe, baseball design, but it's a 3D lenticular card. And we don't have any examples of those, but those should be really cool looking cards. They're extremely rare. The old Ultra Team from the original Ultra set which is another, like we did a 30th anniversary of that same Ultra set, which is kind of cool because the whole player area, the whole picture area is all light effects, like foiled. And then the top and the bottom is just regular C2S. So we kind of made the card look even better.
The other one that jumped out at me were the actor cards that, that all appear on the show Letterkenny, even though it looks like you don't have Letterkenny licensing.
What a coincidence. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. How did that come about?
The truth, I think I can tell it. I am a huge fan of the show. I think if you guys saw, there was a Pitter Patter insert not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And I had gone to a couple of live shows, a couple in LA, one in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So I'm a big fan of the show. And I basically asked my boss, hey, can we go after these guys? And he's just like, if you can find a home for them, then you can use them. I was like, all right. So the original insert name was Population 5000. And the league kind of caught on to that one real quick. So we changed it to High Profile Fan. Dylan is actually, some of these guys actually played hockey. I think Dylan's dad played in the NHL or was very active in the NHL back then.
Really?
Yeah. So they're fans. I've talked to a few of them and even asked them about what teams they like and stuff like that, just to try to have some small talk with them. We have a lot of sets that require a lot of autographs. And it's not like it's not like the whole set, like, oh my goodness, I bought a hockey set and all the autographs are these guys from this television show, which is loosely based around, there's, hockey aspects to it, but there may be one a case, maybe tougher than that you'll get one of these autographs. It also just allows us to, when we got deals with everybody, they were very quick to sign. We're not sitting here waiting for autographs. There will be, Michelle is a redemption. I will say that, but that had more to do with just getting one of the cards printed. Everybody else is live. As I said, once the cards are printed, we're ready to go with Michelle's card. So it's not like you're not going to get that card with the redemption. It should be live fairly soon after this product gets released.
She plays Jared Keeso's sister on the show, right?
Yes.
Here's where I respect about this, and I have to put out there too that I am a fan of Letterkenny too, so that makes me biased sort of in this conversation. But I do see this as a kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't risk on your part, because there's going to be people like me that love the show Letterkenny or Troy who are also have an appreciation for pop culture that are going to be totally jazzed to get one of these cards in a box or a pack that we open. And then there's going to be the other mentality of, I didn't buy a hockey card product to get an actor's autograph. And so how did you kind of balance that when you're thinking, or are you just like, you know what, I need to build the sets that I believe in and just trust my instinct?
Like I said, I didn't want them to, I don't want them to fall like multiple in a case. I understand it. I still laugh to this day that there were people that complained when I was packing out the cup. We had the show cards at multi-sports, and there was Michael Jordan, the show cards in the cup. And people complained that Michael Jordan was in the cup. It's just like, you know what? I think it adds value. I think these cards will value out fairly well. And I'm not one of those guys that's going to say, oh, these are going to be worth so much money and stuff. I think, like you said, you enjoy the show. I enjoy the show. I think they'll do well. I'm not promising anybody anything. If you don't like it, maybe trade it for the autograph that you do want, because you might get good value for it. It's not an e-pack. An e-pack, there's a whole trading community on e-pack. So if you necessarily didn't want one, you probably can trade it to get something that you do want.
Is it safe to say, too, that these auto cards are not taking away Austin Matthews autograph cards? They're generally probably, I'm guessing, but you can tell us, they're replacing maybe a young player or rookie that you may not have ever heard of in many cases, where you have your autograph quotas to fill out. You have to get so many players in there. So could it be seen as additive from that perspective?
Yeah, these aren't case hit cards. None of them are case hit cards. We have case hits, like you mentioned, the Crosbys, the Matthews, some of these rare inserts, numbered cards, stuff like that. Those are your case hit cards. This just falls under the umbrella of a certain number of autographs per case. One of your autographs is going to be one of these guys. If you buy a full case, you have a good chance of getting one of these cards. It helps relieve having to put as many autographs and have these hockey players sign as many autographs. It was just, one, I enjoy the show and I wanted to find a home for these cards. And two, it helps relieve the necessity of getting enough autographs to pack this product out with hockey players.
And there is a definitive hockey tie-in to the show. Could there be like a Shorzy tie-in to the next release then? Because now you're even closer from a hockey.
Well,
tie-in.
Every time I do this, and I do this probably about every 5 or 6 years, I get yelled at and say, this is why we don't like to have celebrities in sets, because it's hard to deal with. And there's a lot more people. You got your hockey agents, but there's a lot more people that want a piece of the pie when you deal with celebrities. So I'll just say I don't see us doing Letterkenny, or I don't see us doing the Mighty Ducks next year, or any of those kind of sets or movies.
Last question on that, but just got to ask. So I did notice no Jared Kiso on the checklist. I assumed you tried to make something happen and it just didn't work out. Is that
we tried everybody? We tried everybody and we got who we got. We're very happy with what we got. Jared and Trevor would have been great for the set also. Trevor's a huge wrestling fan. When I saw him in LA, I actually gave him a set of the AEW, the first set of the AEW cards, and he was very nice about it. But you know what? There are just sometimes people don't necessarily want to make autograph cards of themselves. So it wasn't for them. I'm glad it was for a number of the other people. You got Bonnie McMurray in there. I know there's a lot of Bonnie McMurray fans and Mrs. McMurray. You got Dylan and Andrew in there also. That's kind of a cool combo if you can get both of those guys. So I'm really excited about that insert set. I'll be fighting a lot of people trying to get those autographs. I think they'll do well.
Do you think that Fleer Ultra, let's just be assumptive and say it does really well in EPAC? Again, there's a lot of excitement, so I'm guessing it will. Do you see, or number one, have you planned to for sure do a 2022 release of it, or is that up in the air yet?
I don't know exactly what I can speak on future products that we haven't announced, but if it does well, I'm sure it's something that we will look to continue to do in the future.
Any chance this ever comes back as a physical product that's in hobby shops again, or do you think if it's going to stay, it'll be more of an EPAC only product?
I can only speak on this year about it,
okay.
And the reasoning why it's on EPAC and just getting products through the system. I mean, let's be honest. Unfortunately, this is a 21-22 product. We're still trying to catch up. So we hope it does well. We hope people enjoy it. Like I said, we got the best of, our designers are amazing and Arena is amazing. So the fact we were able to use them for this set is great. And the nostalgia of a lot of these inserts, I think people really enjoy.
So I'm going to take that to mean then you're not ready to talk about the Connor Bedard inserts that you've already designed for 2023? That was a joke. Okay.
We have this amazing design where it's called a redemption card in artifacts. I think that's been designed. Whatchamacallit? Why am I drawing a blank on the Chicago Blackhawk team redemption card for artifacts? There you go. I think that card's been designed.
We were just talking about that on our last show. That's going to be the most expensive redemption ever, because that'll really be if the schedule plays out like it does, right? Right now, that's scheduled right around mid-October, the Artifacts release for 2023-24. So other than MVP, and no disrespect there, and I'm sure the scripts and superscripts and gold scripts, whatever it'll be, will go nuts for Bedard. But that'll be the first kind of real release where there's autos and patches, but for sure redemption. And I can't wait to see how many thousands of dollars people pay for redemption cards.
Yeah.
It's going to be nuts. Okay. Anything else on Ultra before we move on to Extended Series?
No, I think we did a good job.
So you also worked on Extended Series, which did come out today. And before we started recording, I told you I had opened a couple of boxes. And I guess where I want to start is kind of with the obvious, and I'm going to say it so you don't have to. because I'm sure you don't want to, is that as a set builder and designer for Upper Deck, you're limited to some degree by the checklist, which is limited by the crop of rookies, which, hockey cards are very rookie driven, as you know. And we'll just say that the rookie, like, Young Guns list for Extended was probably not the most ideal, and that's going to happen. And it's just the way it shook out. But knowing that, is that kind of the biggest challenge in kind of building and thinking about Extended, is knowing that you're not going to have the creme de la creme rookies for that season available for that set, and that you really got to build interest outside of that, whoever's going to end up on that checklist?
So, not to sound like a broken record year after year, if you guys have me on again next year and if you had me on last year, but Extended Series, although it does pick up from the base and the Young Guns, was really meant to kind of be a set that is insert driven. And by insert, I don't necessarily mean the Young Guns. Unfortunately, we learned really quick that the Young Guns were important. And we do everything in our power to try to make sure that maybe we can get some good players on that checklist. But we still also have to keep in mind the checklist for Series 2 and for Series 1. So it just unfortunately didn't work out for us this year from a matter of initial strength of that checklist. Who knows what happens in the future if some of those guys all of a sudden start flourishing and playing well. It could be turned into a stronger checklist. I mean, you have guys like Shane Wright on that checklist? No, but there still might be some good players on there. Before we started building Extended, you would see the update Young Guns in SPA. And we had a couple years in a row where it was like Gunsol and Matt Murray. And it was just like these guys would just fall in our laps. And Gritty, I'm just joking, but he actually did have a good one in SPA too.
Shesterkin would probably be the best example, right?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
We thought, I don't want to say we thought this should happen every year, but would hope that something like that would happen. And unfortunately, it hasn't. And also, we've gotten, out of the 3 years we've done Extended, we've gotten 50 Young Guns once. And I think we've come to the conclusion that 50 Young Guns in Extended is going to be too much. You're really struggling to get to 50. So one thing that we did this year was we dropped the Young Gun checklist to 30 or 29 in a checklist. And then we added the first round picks cards, which is just another example of getting high quality rookies into the set as inserts. And those actually fall in accordance with the Young Guns. So people are sitting there going, the Young Gun checklist is not as strong as it used to be. Well, you're not getting 6 Young Guns in a box anymore. You're getting 3 to 4. Other 2 to 3 cards are going to be one of the top 20 rookies in the league, potentially, that fall at the same ratio as these Young Guns or with the Young Guns. So you're going to get 6 of those cards combined. So that was kind of our way to strengthen those 6 hits that are usually Young Gun hits. Now you're going to get 3 to 4 Young Guns and at least 2 top 20 rookies.
And I think that's an important point. So I want to linger there just for a second to reiterate, is that for people that we're now all pretty accustomed to having 6 base Young Guns in every flagship release. And so you're going to have 3 to 4 Young Guns, but then you're going to augment that with these first round pick cards, which are off of, I believe it's the 1990 Upper Deck design, where you had, ironically, you had a mix of Young Guns and those cards that year too. So it's really throwback in sort of how the set is configured in that regard. And you'll get your 6 rookies. The advantage, of course, like you just said, is while you're not going to have 6 current base Young Gun designs, because you're going to end up with better names by having that mix, because you use the top 20 first round draft picks.
And guess what?
Subset.
There's exclusives and high glosses of all those 20 cards also. And, clear cut parallels. So there's more bigger hits just through the parallels also.
And this is also the last flagship release under the old configuration, because the next flagship release will be Series 1 for 2023-24. That'll be the 12 packs with multiple hits per pack, and have all the numbered Young Guns and the one-of-one Young Guns. We'll see in the next release. And so you said that, well, this is a very insert-driven set. It's also got, and one of my favorite parts of Extended are the Tribute Young Guns, because I think that's another area where you can get some more content for the best rookies. And this year you guys went with the 07-08 design.
We go up a year each year. We started with the 05-06. And so this being the third year, it's the 07-08 design. Yep.
And then you can get high gloss and exclusives for those cards
Correct.
as well.
Yep.
Is that correct? What was new with Extended, or what are the inserts that you were excited about?
Jeez. I've new. Man, I love looking at the old like SPX designs and kind of redoing some of those. The old Black Diamond designs, like we did Black Diamond again, but we have the Dominance Black Diamond cards. I think those look really nice. The acetate cards, the Smooth Grooves came out really cool.
Those look way better in person, because I've mentioned before we started recording that I opened up a couple boxes, and I really like when I see the Smooth Grooves on like the sell sheet, looks fine, but that's like one of those where in hand is 100 times better.
Yeah, and the fact that there's so many like numbered parallels to this. I just watched a case break from the guys at Out of the Box, and they were just amazed because they got so many numbered. They're like, I don't know if we got a jacked up case, not jacked, like lots of hits. We got like all these numbered cards and all these different Young Gun parallels, the black and white, the acetate and all that stuff. So I'm finding that the boxes, we added a lot of like numbered content and parallels. So you're getting like 2 to 3 legit chase cards per box, as opposed to maybe series 1 where it's like 1 to 2. And we have other inserts, but you're getting a lot of numbered content and Extended also, which is one of the things that when they say, are you listening to feedback? One of the things I've been hearing a lot is people aren't seeing numbered cards as much. So we wanted to kind of change that. You'll see that in next year's series 1 also. There's a lot more numbered cards. People seem to like to know how many of them are made. So we've done that a lot more in Extended and in future sets.
So you said that you watched a case break. What were the cards that were getting the biggest reactions from people today?
I think they were just amazed at how many exclusives and high glosses that they got in one case. I think they got like 5 or 6 like total. And, they might get a case and get 1 or 2 in series 1 or series 2. But what helps is you have the retro set also, which also has exclusives and high glosses in it. So it adds to the pool of numbered cards. So they were really excited with the traditional numbered cards that you normally would find in a flagship type of set.
One of the things I noticed in, there's certain cards that I think, like any collector, that I've always kind of liked, but don't tend to have maybe like the highest secondary chase or value, whatever it may be. And I've always kind of been a fan of the holographics cards. And one of the things I noticed when I was looking at the checklist prior to our conversation is, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but I just want to ask, are the odds a lot tougher to get holographics this year? So I saw the base is one in 120 packs. I got a gold card, which I was surprised is 1 out of 240. And then there's now a third tier to that, which is the Future Fame, which is 1 in 504. So that's a pretty tough chase.
They were, I think, 2 a pack or 2 a box last year. And those cards just, I don't want to say they look too nice to be given too many of them away, but they're beautiful looking cards, and I just kind of wanted to make them rare to make them more valuable, because I didn't think that they were getting the love and the value that they should have gotten. So the best way to take care of that is to give you less. And so I pulled back on the holographics. I think those cards should be a little more special, and they're going to be treated like that in the future.
I'm a big fan of that, because I do appreciate, I even like collecting them from back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Too. Now, we have eyes and ears out all over the place in the hobby, Billy, and a number of the Easter eggs are starting to be uncovered and posted around social media. So I suppose that makes them fair game to talk about once they're out there. Seeing a bunch of Young Guns acetate cards that were included in Extended.
People wanted to sleep on Extended, and they, just looked at the Young Gun checklist. And so we kind of just said, fine, We're going to reward those people that pre-ordered extended, and we put all the acetate Young Guns from this year into extended, including last year's extended, because we didn't make acetate Young Guns in extended last year. So it's 2 years worth of extended, and it's Series 1 and Series 2 acetate Young Guns are all in extended this year, and we hope that adds a nice punch to this set, because I know how popular and how well they do.
What other set? I know that they're an SP Authentic. Is that traditionally the only other set that they appear in?
They've been in SP Authentic. I'm trying to remember if we put them in flagship. They've bounced around. I remember having to tell Tony I was stealing the acetate Young Guns from SP Authentic, but I can't remember what year I did it. If I had them in a different set previous years or not. But yeah, they have had a tradition of being in SPA at some point.
Are they as tough as a chase as they are?
We have not changed the numbering on acetate Young Guns since I've been here, and I'm at 9.5 years now.
Okay, and by that you mean the total
amount produced? Yes.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask that because I can imagine that there are Young Guns or acetate only collectors, and there could be a fear that if they're an extended as well, that they would be watered down. So you're saying that nope, that's the same amount.
When I have a build sheet in front of me and acetate Young Guns are on the build sheet, that is a cut and paste from the year before. It is exactly the same number of copies that we use for acetate Young Guns in the years that I've been here.
And is that an upper deck secret?
You are not going to even come close to getting that number out of me.
I'm going to guess 11D43.
To answer your question 6 months ago, yes, there will be a 101 Bedard Young Gun. You're welcome. There, you got that out of me. Nice job. Good work.
We don't need to go. We don't need to go back to that. What else about extended is noteworthy that we should?
There's a few other Easter eggs that hopefully you guys find. I think I've seen a couple of the specialists are out there again. We had another round of those guys. Look, extended is. I've ripped the box where I have to get out of here in 5 minutes. Because the whole group is actually coming into the room I'm in, and we're going to rip a case. I just snuck a box because I can to open up before everybody ripped it. And I had a fun time opening it. I enjoyed it. I felt that the value in this year's extended is greater than it's ever been. People just have to realize there are big hits in this set, but there's also a lot of those $5 to $10 cards that can just keep adding up. I can't wait to see your box opening on your Instagram. A little plug for you, because I want to see like each card. Okay, this has some value to it. This has some value to it. I think the inserts are a lot stronger than you've seen before, and it's a fun rip. Like, I'm gonna open a box and I'm gonna hit at least a couple of the good rookies in the class opening up a box of this, where you might not get that opening up a box of Series 1 and Series 2.
I can't divulge this information because it's a Gongshow secret, but we did hit a big one. So you'll be looking forward to seeing that in the videos.
What song are you going to play? Maybe that's the hint you can give me.
I'm going to play something with Billy in it in honor of you for hitting the big one. So maybe a Billy Joel song.
Oh my God. No one can see this, but you're going to laugh now that you said that. You can see my shirt. I was in Boston, and we were walking around. I wanted to go to a game, but they were out of town. But there was a Billy Joel concert. So we went to the park the bar in the park, or whatever it's called. And we sat there and we're drinking and listening to Billy Joel practice, like during like warm-ups and stuff like that. And so then I'm walking around, and those T-shirt guys outside, I'm like, it's got my name on it. So I'm like, how much for one? And they're like, this much. I go, how much for two? And then I got them down like $20. So I bought like 2 shirts for $40 or something. But it's for those of you who can't see, it's like the famous like gas sign from Boston, and it just says Billy across the bottom. That's funny that you mentioned Billy Joel, and I'm wearing the shirt today.
Maybe Billy Idol. We'll see. We'll think of something good for that. Okay, I know you got to go. Have fun with your team. Oh, what's coming next? Because we're always consumed with what's next. Is it ice? Is it any ideas?
Ice is coming up. It's a double. I'm having flashbacks of when I first started working. It's a double rookie class, except it doesn't have really bad number one picks in it. No, it's a double rookie class, and it's loaded. I'm super excited about Ice this year. And since I know this, since we were able to talk Letterkenny, and that's entertainment, I'll just also mention out last week is Marvel Allure, similar to our hockey brand. Man, that thing has picked up some steam and has been real popular. It's very, like I said, it's similar to the hockey product that we built, but with all MCU characters with tons of signers. I mean, it's the biggest Marvel signing checklist I think that we've ever had. So that's out also. So look forward to, and Marvel Allure just came out.
Cool. All right, Billy, we'll have you on soon. Thank you again for all the info.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Okay, we're back. Thanks to Billy again for all the great information. And we'll kind of pick back up some of the conversation when we get into new releases. But first, Troy, it's Thursday. Every Thursday, we take a look at the PWCC Weekly Auction, and particularly the hockey cards. PWCC, of course, is a Gongshow partner and sponsor. We want to thank them for their support of our show. Reminder as well, the June premiere auction begins today, so be sure to head to pwccmarketplace.com to check it out. And as we always do, we're going to look at our favorite vintage and modern hockey cards from the current weekly auction. Big number, 522 cards this week. Oh, one last minute reminder. I'm still doing and co-hosting with Jeremy Lee on the Sports Card Live YouTube channel every Sunday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time. Again, Sports Card Live YouTube. We cover the close of the PWCC auction, in particular the hockey cards. It's a lot of fun. Would love to have you all join. Very interactive. You can ask us questions or have conversations through the chat. And so hopefully see a lot of you there this Sunday at 8:30 Central Standard Time. Okay, let's start with the vintage cards. Troy, my first pick is a 1951 Parkhurst Maurice Rocket Richard rookie card, PSA 4, PWCC A, which means it has an eye appeal rating in the top 30%. The 1951 Parkhurst set is one of my absolute favorites, and the Maurice Richard rookie is one of the big three rookies from that set. So it'd be Gordie Howe, Richard, and Terry Sawchuk. As far as PSA 4s go, this is a super nice copy, and that's really why I picked it, because this is typically a very spendy card. Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking you're going to get a Richard in the 6, 7, and I don't know if there's a 9, but 8, you're going to spend huge amounts of money. And so given that it's a little bit lower grade, but it has that real high eye appeal rating, that this may appeal to a lot of people. Centering is really good. It's maybe a touch off from left to right, but really good from top to bottom. The coloring is really vivid, and the card pops. And I look for that a lot in the 1951 set. Sometimes it'll be a little faded.
Yep.
Like I said, very nice copy for PSA 4. Can definitely see why PWCC gave it its top 30% eye appeal rating. And if you're not familiar with Rocket Richard, he played 18 seasons in the NHL for the Montreal Canadiens. He was the first player ever to score 50 goals in a season. He led the NHL in goals 5 times, but never in scoring. Kind of funny. So puck hog?
Yeah,
Rocket Richard?
Not an assist machine. Is that what you're saying?
No. He did score 544 career goals, added 422 assists, so not a bad ratio. 966 points in 978 games played. He won the Stanley Cup a mere 8 times. That's it. Also won our trophy once for the 1946-47 season. Troy, last sale for a 1951 Parkhurst Maurice Rocket Richard PSA 4 was $4,543 in December of 2022. All-time high, $8,100 US in July 2021. You got a current bid?
$2,600 US.
Okay, your turn.
All right, I also did a 1951 Parkhurst for my vintage card. I did an Elmer Locke PSA 6, which Josh also has the PWCC eye appeal rating in the top 30%, or the PWCC A certified rating. All right, this reason I did this card is, again, I look for cards where the names jump out at me, the card interests me because I've never seen it. And this one, the name was definitely what jumped out to me, Elmer Locke. And it's just a bonus that it was a 51 Parkhurst card. So I like, as you said, I love them. I like looking at them. So before I even get into the card, I got to talk about our boy. Josh, this guy is our boy. Elmer Locke is our boy. Wait till you hear about this guy.
I don't know him, but I feel a vibe. I feel like is he the third co-host to the Gong Show? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Unfortunately, he's passed away, but he was a gamer. I'll tell you that. So he's in the Hall of Fame. And once again, like you said, I think everyone's in the Hall of Fame that we do a vintage card, 51 Parkers.
We honest to God, we just pick funny names, and they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We have no idea who these people are.
All right. Locke is a Hall of Famer. He was named to the NHL's 100 Greatest Players Ever list. 3-time Stanley Cup winner with Montreal. Career regular season stats, 215 goals, 408 assists for 623 points in 664 NHL games. He was the 1945 Hart Trophy winner, the 48 Art Ross Trophy winner. He was nicknamed Elegant Elmer and also known as the Nokomis Flash.
I like that one a lot better. We have Lake Nokomis here in the Twin Cities.
The Nokomis Flash, which was nicknamed for the swift skates he brought from his Saskatchewan hometown. Interesting. Now, this is why Elmer Locke is our boy. He broke his nose 7 times, broke his jaw officially twice, but he thinks 3 times, shattered his cheekbone twice, had his foot sliced open and severed 2 veins, fractured his leg, had a fractured skull, and had hundreds of stitches during his playing career. I don't think many people can beat Elmer Locke in the amount of injuries and broken bones this guy had, but he still played. That's the crazy
Who's
thing.
the old-time goalie is that Sawchuk who has like the scarred face photos or?
Oh yeah. I know the photo you're talking about. I think you're talking about Cheevers with the mask with the stitches on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Can I ask you to be honest for a second?
Yeah.
Too? And I'm not, this is not a blame thing. I just kind of want to know. Is there a part of you that picked Elmer Locke just because you had some degree of confidence you could pronounce his name?
Yeah, no kidding. No, Elmer Locke. I got it. I started reading about him. I had to do him. Again, this is a guy.
His nickname should have been the Glue.
Yeah, Elmer Glue. Was that a thing back then?
I don't know.
The thing about him, too, there's a story I didn't put in there, but the story about how he went to the hospital after a game, and to check if he was okay, they just shook him and said, "Did you feel that?" And he said no, and they go, "Okay, you're good." And it's like, what? What were they doing back then? So who knows if those are embellished, but pretty good. So check this out, too. When the Saturday Evening Post did a profile on Locke, the title of it was, "You Can't Kill a Hockey Player." That to me is grim. I love it. All right, Locke played on a line with Toe Blake and Rocket Richard. We have a connection. You just did Rocket Richard. They were on the famed Punchline. Obviously, there's a lot more we could go into with Locke, but we're just going to leave it here for now. We got to talk about the card, because that's what this segment's about. Card itself, like you kind of said, it's got the eye appeal rating of A, top 30%. It looks absolutely great. It looks magnificent. It's PSA 6. Centering's a tad off, but still really good. Surface, edges, and corners look really good for a 51 Parkhurst. There are some minor issues. If you zoom in far enough, you'll see some, I don't know what you want to call it, flaking or all that stuff. But again, it is PSA 6, and it's definitely got the vivid colors warranted of that eye appeal rating. Great looking card. The last verified sale I could find of a PSA 6 was in September of 2021 in Terapeak for $1,100 US. Right now, current bid on this card is $700 US. So I will be interested to see what this goes for. But great.
Doesn't sound like it goes up for sale very often.
No, it doesn't.
All right, last vintage card, because this is 1981. So we're jumping ahead 30 years here. Is a 81 OPG Yari Curry rookie, number 107, PSA 10, pop 31. I was drawn to this card, Troy, because I'm sure you're going to use your fancy spreadsheet now and tell me otherwise. But I don't think we've discussed Curry that much on the show, have we?
I don't think we have. I know we talked about him in like personal pickups a long time ago. I bought a couple Curry cards, but I think, and we probably talked about him. No, I don't think so. I don't think we've talked about him that much. It's just in passing, maybe with talking about Gretzky or a line he was on with the Oilers or something like that.
Start with the card. Biggest thing you'll notice about this card is it has the typical OPG rough cuts on the corners and edges, as these cards were wire cut when they were produced before being collated into packs. You can find copies also that were cut from sheets later. Typically, PSA didn't grade those, but BGS did. So these were on sheets, and it could have been a week, a month, a year, 10 years later that they were cut with blades. And so they have more that what we'd expect in a modern card, the very straight, clean edges. honestly, there's no right or wrong as to what's better. It's completely collector preference. I tend to like the OPG for a couple reasons. I just think that the rough cut thing is kind of cool, that there's an accepted, call it imperfection, where cards will get PSA 10s, where the corners and edges they look rough, right? That's why it's called rough cut. And then two, I think there's something to the fact that the rough cut cards that were wire cut are more representative of cards that came out of packs versus that were cut from sheets later on. But like I said, no right or wrong reason, just what you prefer. So Curry Troy is a Finnish NHL legend who played in the NHL from the 1980 NHL season until retiring after the 1997-98 season. After being drafted by Edmonton in 1980, he was soon paired on a line with Wayne Gretzky. That's not bad luck right there. And the two would become one of the most prolific scoring tandems in NHL history. While in Edmonton, Curry was named the Finnish Flash. He ended up scoring 601 goals, 797 assists for 1,398 points in 1,251 games played. Curry is a 5-time Stanley Cup champion, all with the Edmonton Oilers. And you can kind of see like some like Draisaitl comparisons.
I was going to say,
here.
was he Gretzky's, or was he the Draisaitl with Gretzky?
Now, 4 of his cups were won with Wayne Gretzky, but he was really the team leader after Gretzky was traded to LA that led Edmonton to his fifth cup and their last Stanley Cup. So I think that was a proving moment for him. In 1986, he led the NHL in goals, also won the Lady Byng Trophy in 1985. He was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2001. His number 17 was retired by the Edmonton Oilers that year as well. Last sale Troy for 1981 OPHE, Yari Curry, PSA 10 pop 31, very low, was $2,010 US in April. All-time high 3,700 US in October 2021. You got the current bid.
It is at $900 US.
Probably another guy that just doesn't get enough due, huh?
Mm-hmm. I love buying his autograph stuff. It's super reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Draisaitl, we're going to switch to Modern now. And my first card in the Modern is a 2014-15 The Cup. Leon Draisaitl RPA out of 249. BGS 9.5 10 True Gem Mint, meaning all 5 subgrades are BGS 9.5s or 9.5 subgrades. And that's really the thing that stood out to me about this card, other than I love Draisaitl and it's his best rookie patch auto. Cup cards and RPAs are thicker. We don't really ever expect them to be gem mint.
No.
Heck, usually if it's a BGS 8 or PSA 8 or 8.5, you're like, oh, okay. Right? And it doesn't, I don't think, affect the value that much. So it feels pretty special that this card is, in fact, a true gem mint. I think the other critical element of these cards is the quality of the patch. And while this is a 2-color patch, it is an interesting one. It's kind of got a blue stripe down the middle. I'm sure there's better. There's probably 3-card patches. So if you're a patch snob, may not be the exact one for you. I really like the design of the 2014-15 rookie patch auto from the Cup. I've just appreciated, some years are better than others and you'll connect with. Personally, we've talked about Draisaitl ad nauseum on the show to this point. I'll just remind everyone again, because I love to do it, that nobody has scored more goals in the NHL in the past 5 years than Draisaitl. No one. To me, he's probably the most underappreciated, quote-unquote, current superstar in the hobby. Will he ever get the respect he should? I don't know. He's kind of trapped in that long shadow of McDavid that we've talked about. And I think if I was thinking of what are my favorite Draisaitl rookie cards, I really love his Young Guns acetate, not the clear cut, the acetate, which would be, I think, my favorite rookie. But the Cup RP at a 249 is pretty awesome too. And given that obviously didn't have huge hype coming into the league, and as Upper Deck put him on a 249 instead of 99, that really makes this RPA a lot more affordable because there's more copies.
Mm-hmm.
Last sale on a 2014-15 The Cup, Leon Draisaitl RPA at a 249. BGS 9.5 was $3,385 US on May 8th. It was also the all-time high. Current bid, Troy?
$2,100 US.
Okay, you're not. Is this where you admit that you were on the struggle bus trying to find a modern card?
I was
connected with your soul.
I was struggling Nothing was really jumping out at me. But then I landed on the 2019 Upper Deck the Cup Black Foil Shield Nick Suzuki rookie patch. 1 of 1, Josh. There's only one of them.
101. You're the 101 guy ever since you pulled that Roman.
Yeah, now I'm all 101s.
101. Now you're all about 101s.
This one is graded a PSA 6, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So like Josh said, I guess now I love seeing 101s. Since I pulled one out of Trilogy, I guess I'm the 101 guy now. So maybe I'll just change and buy just nothing but 101s and go absolutely broke. But this card, it's a Black Foil Shield 101. It's Nick Suzuki. It's a bonus. We kind of talked a little bit about Suzuki when we talked about Caufield's contract. Rookie card. Gotta love it. My absolute favorite thing about this card is the shield has the French abbreviation for the NHL. It's actually LNH, which stands for Ligue Nationale de Hockey. I love that. I love that it has the French.
Could Suzuki pronounce that or read it when the card
I'm convinced he knows French now. The lawmaker, that politician told him, you need to learn French if you're going to be the captain of the Canadiens. But I absolutely love the LNH. I think it looks sweet. Like I had to do almost a little double take, but it makes sense. You're in Montreal. You're in French. All right, here we go, Josh. This card is in a PSA slab with a grade of 6. Now, fully admit I'm not a grading guy, but I've heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure that grading really matters because it's a 101. And there's a wide range of opinions. Should you not grade a 101? Does it matter? There's only one of them. Does the grade really hold up? Maybe it's more you get the authentic grade. I don't know. I'm curious your opinion on it.
That's a great question, Troy. And I don't know if you saw this, but one of our more popular Instagram posts in a long time was the Kirill Kaprizov Future Watch Auto patch from SP Authentic, Black 101 that recently sold, that had the auto grade of PSA 10, but was graded PSA Authentic. Yeah. And one of the comments we saw a lot in the post was, why not get the grade? And I actually, because you look at this card and you see PSA 6, and you can't help but be like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it's smarter not to get a 101 graded. Maybe grade the auto, or it's just more important that it's authenticated. So I think that comparing this Suzuki card to that Kaprizov that recently sold, I'm going to go lean more on the side of just getting it authenticated. What's your thought?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And this card, hopefully I didn't say, it's not an auto. It's just the shield. It's a black foil shield. So that's another piece to keep in mind with this card. But yeah, you're right. You see that PSA 6 and it's like, oof. But I mean, we understand thick cup cards usually, like you said before, they don't grade that well. But even a PSA 6 seems a little low for this. But it is what it is. That's what, and it's kind of interesting. I zoomed in on the card. I thought it looked actually pretty decent. Once you zoom in close enough, you'll see the edge. So that's always the same thing with these thick patch cards. But again, the card itself, I really, really like. It's the thick cup card looks nice. It's got the front. It's got a picture of Suzuki on the top. We'll call it third. And then the shield's very prominent in the center of the card with the LNH letters on it. I'm curious. I am curious what this card goes for, because Suzuki, obviously young, shows talent. For his career, he's got 75 goals, 134 assists for 209 points in 291 games played. He had a career year this year, 26 goals, 40 assists for 66 points in all 82 games. And it's his 4th year in the NHL, and he's only 23. So there is some runway. Obviously, the Canadiens have committed to him. But I am curious to see what this card kind of goes for.
I have a question about him.
Yeah.
Cover your ears, Canadiens fans. Probably not going to like this. But I do have a Seismic Gold marquee rookie, so I'm a little bit invested in his.
Yeah, you're holding out.
It just feels a little Mikko Koivu-ish to me.
Oh.
You see, I mean, it's like his numbers are okay, but man, I don't know. I mean,
well, they're trending up. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah,
that's all you can ask for. So hopefully it keeps going up. But I hear you.
I followed him a little bit this year, and he would go long stretches without. Well, when you have 26 goals, it's 1 out of every 4 games on average. But yeah, I don't know if I'm totally sold on Suzuki.
Gotcha. So I did some research to try to figure out what this thing would be worth or what it might sell for. My final answer is I'm not sure. But when I looked for First I started looking for other Nick Suzuki 101s. And I did find in July of 2022, now I get it, this is a year and a half ago or whatever. A year ago. His 2019, the Cup, Exquisite Collection Rookie Shield 101 with an auto. Caveat, that one had an auto. Went for $11,663. And then in July of 2021, the 2019, the Cup Black Rookie Foundations Auto Tag Patch 101. Again, I just was looking for 101s. That went for $2,829 US. Right now, this one's like at a current bid of $700 US. It doesn't have an auto. I don't even want to take a guess, but
it ain't going for 12 grand.
Well, I was thinking
like the other one. I think the PSA, given there's no auto, the PSA 6 really hurts it.
Yep. But it's still a really cool card if you're a Suzuki collector. Plus, I still love the LNH, the French letters, or not the French letters, but the French abbreviation.
Okay, last card we want to highlight in this week's PWCC Weekly Auction. Again, go to pwccmarketplace.com to check it out. Is a 2005 Black Diamond Alexander Ovechkin Rookie Quad Diamond BGS 9.5. To me, this is one of those great they zig, you zag cards.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, Troy, there's always going to be a ton of focus on Ovechkin's Young Guns, of course. Keep in mind, though, that the Young Guns pop count is pretty high for Ovechkin and really every star player. If you look at his PSA 10 Young Guns, pop count is 1,129. Even higher for BGS 9.5, 1,938. So now I'm going to compare that again, PSA 1,129, BGS 1938 for Young Guns to his Black Diamond Quad Diamond, and PSA 10 pop is 38, BGS 9.5 is 153. With BGS 2, Troy, we've talked about a lot. The desirability often comes down to the subgrades. This card actually has 2 10 subgrades for centering and surface, a 9 for corners, and a 9.5 for edges. So it isn't. It does have that 1-9 subgrade. Great looking card for Ovi in the classic black Capitals uniform. That's really cool. And again, this is a zag from the Young Guns kind of play for the Black Diamond. Even though I think Black Diamond rookies are pretty recognizable throughout the hobby and well thought of by collectors, I wouldn't call it obscure in that case. And part of me wonders too, Troy, if this is where I got to be careful. So my big disclaimer here is this is not investment advice. Don't go do this because I'm not trying to say this is like a foolproof way, but it got me thinking this card about Ovi a little bit. And we are in a lull in the market. The market's down. He didn't make the playoffs. He's done playing, and who knows what'll happen, but there's a good chance he's going to break Gretzky's record. So part of me wonders if that is opening a window of opportunity where, if he plays well next year, prices are going to just be higher and higher. It's not going to get cheaper to buy Ovechkin cards. And if you were of that persuasion where you thought, is it too late to jump on the Ovi train? Well, I think it's stopped in a little bit of a cavern right now. And do your own research. Don't listen to us by any stretch. But like I said, I just want to throw it out there. Maybe it's an interesting lull. Last sale on a 2005-06 Black Diamond Alex Ovechkin Quad Diamond Rookie BGS 9.5 Pop 153 was $1,950 US in March of 2022. All-time high $2,750 US in January of 2022. You got the current bid?
It is $290 US.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Sold. Take that right now. Okay, we got to get to new product releases. So a little bit of it's like a fireworks show. Half our fireworks went off without a hitch, and the other one was a dud. We didn't get the Fleer Ultra release today that a lot of us were hoping for, but we did get extended out. I did open 2 boxes, and I'm starting to wonder when my apology is going to be to Extended Series. I'll admit, I was pretty negative going into this whole thing, and I made the sort of classic move that we all do, is when the checklist came on, I went to the Young Guns, and I'm like, oh boy, this isn't great. And sort of had written the set off from that point, but I kind of liked it. And I'm going to get into why. But before I do, though, I just want to get through. I do have a couple things that I didn't like so far. And so I want to cover those first so we end more on the positive. First thing, just alluded to it. There's no way around it. The Young Guns checklist is no bueno. It's not good.
Yeah.
If we were still doing the vomit sound effect, I would enter that right now, but we're not doing it, so don't worry. It's not going to happen. And the one thing I'll say, though, is who knows? Maybe 3 years from now, one of these guys will go bananas and we'll all be diving into the closet, into our commons boxes, trying to pull out our whoever Young Guns. So there's always that chance, but on face value, the checklist isn't great. And so that doesn't help with the set. Secondly, Troy, a lot of and this is a base card thing, and so you can tell me how big of a deal this is in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of the cards, typical with Extended, are the All-Star versions of the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the most recent All-Star game, it ends up being the one from the year prior. Whoever designed those uniforms for that All-Star game, honestly, this person at the NHL needs to be reassigned to the mailroom. They are just hideous. And you get so many of these. It's not Upper Deck's fault. It's not their fault. They're just taking pictures of the guys in their uniforms. And I didn't like that. Yep. We'll just leave it there. And then the last critique that I would have is I'm starting to be of the opinion, and I got to this. I think I started thinking about this when we were opening some Series 2 a few months ago. Billy had talked about in the interview with Holographics how he's made it more scarce and rare. So they're not putting 2 or 3 in a box or whatever. I'm starting to feel like the whole canvas thing might be running its course. I like canvas cards. Yeah. I'm actually a big fan. But when you get like 6 a box, and maybe the new configuration will change this when it's not I do the videos and you get to that one hit and it's a base canvas, especially. Now, I like the Young Guns canvas. Those are so exciting. Some of the legends and short prints, black ones, those can be exciting. But the base ones, it just makes the pack, I don't know. I would like to see less.
Yep.
Have you ever had that feeling, or is that just me?
Not really. But I've always thought maybe there could be more parallels, right? Because there's like black canvas and some of that thought. But again, I don't want to get into parallel overload where there's thousands of different parallels and you're now Panini with all your different variations.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the good side. Here's the thought that I had after finishing our show notes as I was picking up my daughter from her field trip to Valley Fair, which is very much a poor man's like Cedar Point or Six Flags here in Minnesota. I think I like Extended better than I did Series 2. And I'll get into that right now. Where I give Billy a lot of credit, and I don't know how strategic this was or if it just worked out this way, because they build these sets so long ago, and I don't know if they know who the players are going to be or what they're going to turn out. But instead of leaning into a bad Young Guns checklist and just being like, well, people want Young Guns, so we're just going to give them a whole bunch of Young Guns that people have never heard of, they really hedged against that with this set and adding the first round draft picks cards and a lot of the rookie retros where they can give you Matty Beniers and Slavkovsky and Owen Power and not just Young Guns dudes you've never even heard of, I think was a really, really smart move for Extended. And to me, because I've been thinking, as I was a little bit negative, admittedly, coming up to this release, it's like, is there even a long-term fit for Extended? If it's just going to end up being a really like C-level rookie checklist, can the set survive the long term? And I'm a little more hopeful of that now, given how they balanced that out with better, different cards from the best rookies of the year. And so I really think that was smart, and think that Billy and crew did a good job there. So I'm there may be people that I'm sure there will be that are ticked off that there's not 6 base Young Guns. I'm happy. I would rather have 2 or 3 and maybe a couple of these guys pan out, but then get those extra Beniers or Shane Wright or Matt Boldy cards or whatever it might be. I'll take that bet every day. I think the first round picks is interesting. I don't love portrait cards, and I've said that before. I have no idea what the secondary market value will be. It was interesting, though, that Billy said that there is exclusives and high gloss of those two. That kind of makes me think, I I wonder what those will go for. The throwback, I think 07-08 Young Guns are pretty cool. Really happy, again, mentioned already that Billy pared back on the holographics. The SPX die cuts, I think, are cool. And I love that they include Easter eggs.
Yep. Big Easter eggs.
I want to pull Easter eggs. I never pull Easter eggs. I never pull good cards in general, but I kind of did today.
There you go.
But yeah, I would think it'd be so much fun to pull one of those Easter eggs. And yeah, so I've opened up 2 boxes. It's day 1. We need to let these ruminate and settle in. But I was kind of coming into this expecting, okay, we'll open up a box or 2 and never again.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of thinking, do I want to open up more? So I guess that's a good
I was talking with you earlier. I'm putting in my personal order tonight, probably, as we speak. No, I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm doing it right now, but I will in a little bit.
So, and then, of course, Flair Ultra Hockey was delayed. It sounds like it'll just be a matter of days, not weeks. So hopefully that'll come out soon. The other nugget that I thought was really interesting that Billy dropped, and it's worth mentioning again here, new product releases, because the anticipated release date is June 14th. Now, will that happen? We don't know. Is 2021-22 Upper Deck Ice, Troy, he said might be next. The nugget is, he called it quote-unquote loaded because they didn't do Ice in 2020. This will be a dual rookie class product. We haven't had one of those.
Nope, not for
since we started our show. And it's the 2020 as well as 2021 rookie class for $130 a box. Now, I know you don't like the Ice logo.
Very petty.
You know that.
Very
You're
petty.
But does the fact that it has a dual rookie class, does that perk your ears up?
Oh, I'm sure I'll buy 5. I'm sure I'll buy 5 boxes of it just because I
just complain about the logo.
Yeah, I complained about it, and then I'll get a box and be like, "Oh, I love this. I'm gonna buy way more."
I'm interested in that too. So that's it for new product releases. We're gonna end the show like we always do with listener mailbag. We're gonna try to do turbo style because of our interview with Billy. We don't want this to be a 12-hour show.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit back and listen. You took a lot of these.
All right, here we go. First, thank you to everyone again for submitting questions. We love that you guys do, and they're very thoughtful and always so good. First question this week, Troy, from Instagram, that welder guy 412. With so many copies of Young Guns base rookie, why are they some of the most sought after? This question comes up a lot, and we actually get it on my YouTube show with Jeremy Lee for the PWCC a lot. That welder guy, I think it comes down to is it's one of the strongest brands in all of sports cards. And my thoughts on the Young Guns have evolved a lot over the past year. I have kind of a theory, and there's a lot of Young Guns collectors and people that love them, and I definitely love and appreciate them too. But I think for a certain amount of collectors that as you gain more experience, as you're in the hobby longer, for a number of people, they sort of grow out of them, if that's a good way to put it, Troy. And those people tend to get negative. I've never been negative on Young Guns. I think it's the perfect entry card for the hobby. Yep. I want this hobby to grow. It's a very liquid card. You can easily understand the value. It's the biggest rookie that stands out. It's the Young Gun. Everyone, it's the first thing you learn about being in the hobby. Now, when you're talking about a player's or Young Guns long-term value prospects, you have to really learn about pop count and gem rate, and it does get more complicated. But I think that they're the most sought after because they're the most recognizable and they're the most iconic hockey card. Gongshow Discord, just hockey cards. Do you think the fact that we're having 2021 rookies and sets that are being printed and distributed in late 2023 has anything to do with some of the poor values on anything but exceptionally short print inserts? I don't just hockey cards. I think it has to mainly to do with the 2021 and especially 2022 rookie classes have not been awesome. And so that's why we're seeing people gravitate to like the population counts or 16-bit inserts, and because these rookies just haven't been really exciting. And it just gets back to Upper Deck is really far behind. We were just talking about Ice a minute ago. That's going to be a set that still has 2020 rookies in it. This 2020 thing it can never end. I feel like 4 years from now, it's going to be like, well, is this the last 2020 set that's out? So, and I think we mentioned last show too, because the 2022 rookie class has been softer. I think it's a blessing right now that we have these other classes, because even though you'd have variation in different cards and sets coming out, if everything was Matty Beniers and Owen Power at this point, I think that would get old pretty fast. Next question from Instagram, Jonesy191890. Why are Gretzky cards so undervalued? You don't see Jordan cards go for so low. Well, Jonesy, compared to basketball, football, and baseball, the fact is hockey is way smaller of a fan base, way smaller of a following, way smaller in revenues, and the hobby is just smaller. That being said, I would put the 1979 Gretzky OPC PSA 10 up there with any sports card, and my guess is it's in the top, at least in the top 10 still most valuable sports cards. Gretzky's have been lower in the short term. A lot of cards are down. Jordan cards are down. LeBron cards are down. I don't know, Troy, if you have a better answer on this than I do, but I just think it's proportional to the size of the game and the hobby.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Next question, Facebook, Henry Peters. This was an interesting one that had me a little bit tied up in knots. Is since Michael Bunting's Young Guns came out in 2020, and his Future Watch Auto and Young Guns Canvas came out in 2021, they wouldn't be considered as rookie cards since they came out a year later. Right. Now, if you recall, he was a 2020 extended series Young Guns.
And he's an old man.
And then
right?
he was, not even Calder eligible, like Kuzmenko. I think he might have been barely Calder eligible.
I think he was. I think he was barely Calder eligible.
But very old. So at the days to spare. So he was a 2020 extended series Young Gun, and then I think his Canvas was Series 1. So it should have been the next flagship release, was technically 2021. And he is a 2021 Future Watch Auto. Like Henry said, we haven't been like crazy hobby guys for 30, 40 years. And so somebody with more experience may have a different opinion on this, Henry. But I think that the whole true rookie concept is largely out the window for a lot of people right now, for lack of a better term. And I think that at a time like Beckett would actually I don't know if there's in their price catalog or what, like label cards as these were the true rookies. And they somehow, Troy, became the arbiter of what a true rookie is. But as we know, their relevance and significance and reputation in the hobby has been a little bit damaged over the last couple of years. And we've moved away from the Beckett price guide anyways. And so I think it's interesting that his rookie cards are split between different set years. But I would consider, or I wouldn't consider his Future Watch Auto any different than any other players. All right, Facebook, Michael Buckley. We have 3 questions from Michael, all good ones. I'm going to let you take the first one, Troy. It's best supplies investments for a new collector, i.e. centering tool, bulk, top, loaders, one touches. He said screw down.
I love it.
I don't know if I go that.
You put a wink.
But I guess before you go, centering tools, I think you can get off Amazon. Yeah. Those have been somewhat helpful. They're a little hard to line up. The best tool is getting a lighted magnifying glass. That's what I would, from a tool perspective, I would recommend. But from supplies, you're kind of our supply guy on the show. So I'll let you
I pretty basic. I just did what I started out with. I got penny sleeves. Personally, I like there's notched penny sleeves that you can buy with one of the top corners already sliced and cut, so it's a lot easier to get them in there without nicking the corner, which I had problem with when I first started. So I really like the notched penny sleeves. Obviously, top loaders, different sizes for different thicknesses of cards, but you don't need to go crazy on the 140 points or the 190 points. You can start with the standard sizes until you need the big ones. Like you said, if you're getting to a grading, centering tool, along with a jeweler's loop or a magnifying glass, like you said, magnifying glass, or a lighted magnifying glass, so you can look at cards close up. Then you got to think about storage and what you're going to do with all these cards that you get. You can do boxes. You can get a hard case if you're going to take cards to shows that you want to bring, like a Zion case or something like that. And then you can also, if you like books, I know in our Discord, a couple of people have shown us books that are made for top loaders. So you can put your top loaded cards into binder pages, which is very cool. And then I know you didn't really ask about this, but I put a spreadsheet to track your collection. So you know what you have. And then there's also, you can go team bags, cardboard protection, bubble mailers, scales if you're going to start selling online. You can go down a big rabbit hole.
Good overview. Next question from Michael Buckley is thoughts on Sorokin's future in the hobby. I think he's an awesome goalie. He seems like, from everything you read, that just his technique and skill, that people think he could be a perennial Vezina candidate. To me, the two biggest limiting factors, Troy, for long-term hobby prospects are, well, number one, he's a goalie, and they never have the values of a goal scorer. And then it's just going to come down to his team.
Yep.
The Islanders were like the most boring team ever to watch. And that doesn't help a goalie's value as far as drawing fan interest and going deep in the playoffs. Anything you have to add to that?
I just said I love Sorokin, but get out of New York and the Islanders. Get to a different team.
Last question for Michael is, do you look at the list for players you're interested in before buying a new product, or just go gung-ho? 100%, I look at the checklist before buying wax. You got to look at the rookie class. How many rookies are in there versus how many cards you get? That varies. There's products that'll have 150 rookies on the checklist, and then you count, and it's like, well, there's like 10 I'd be happy with. Those are not great odds. And maybe you should buy signals at that point. And then you got to look at what the inserts you like are. Who are the vets? What are the vet autos? What are the pack odds? And so, because there's a lot of variability in there, and I would definitely recommend doing that. What do you think?
Yeah, I do the same kind of thing. I study the checklist, kind of make a list, say to myself, okay, it has some cards I want, so I'm going to go look at those singles. And then immediately 3 minutes later, I forget that I even mentioned that, and I immediately start buying boxes online, or I go to the store and I rip them open. So as much as I'd like to say I am a singles buyer, I do buy singles with my PC stuff. And when new product comes out, I usually just want to rip a box.
Next question from Instagram, Cards AH. Do you see ultra modern wax as a good investment? Cards AH, I think it's all dependent on the rookie class and the selection of product. So if you're talking like flagship, if it's Austin Matthews, you're going to, is in that whatever series 1 or whatever it is, 4 or 5 years down the road, that box is going to be worth a lot of money. If it's kind of a dud rookie class, it's not going to be worth much. And you could even maybe lose a little bit of money on it. And probably not the best people to ask because we can't hold wax.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I can't. I'm the horrible person to ask because if I have wax sitting here, maybe 7 days is the longest it's lasted, like in my sight, before I just rip it open. Like I always said, if I did wax investing, I'd have to buy it and put it somewhere offsite, and I couldn't know where it's at because one day I'd get bored and go get it.
Next question, Gongshow Discord Spencer. Do you think the prospect of the Coyotes moving to a place like Salt Lake City make players like Caden Keller a little more interesting if a new fan base injects some excitement and attention to the relocated team? You had some thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought about this a long time to have a really short answer. Maybe a little bump. But again, I'm not sure Salt Lake City has enough of a hockey card market to start driving any meaningful impact. I think it would have to take Keller 2 to 3 years of performing well in wherever, Arizona, Salt Lake City, wherever they end up. But I do like the Salt Lake City, kind of the hype that's kind of building around moving to Salt Lake City. It seems there's a lot of interest, and it seems like they're very interested as a hockey community. I just don't think there's enough there to create a bump right away.
Last question, Gongshow Discord. Artvark33. Sorry if this has been asked before, but what's the most memorable pack-pulled card in your life, hockey or otherwise? All right, Troy, you go first.
Do you want me to answer for you? Nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I do have one.
Oh, nice. So the most memorable or the rarest card I've actually ever pulled was a 2021 Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary Mickey Mantle short print, which had odds of 1 in 11,416 packs. So that's like probably one of the most valuable, rarest cards I've ever pulled. Obviously, I did pull that Roman Josi 101 out of Trilogy, but that's not worth that much. Worth a little bit, but not that much.
You sold it already.
I already sold it, yeah.
Quick seller on those. Quick trigger. I've never pulled anything really valuable. And I've opened up a lot. I have the word. I would be probably can't be a breaker. No one would ever get good cards. I want to pull like a Gretzky or Mario Lemieux auto or something like that once in my life. That would be amazing. I do have, and you know this, you've seen it, I do have a penchant of pulling printing plates.
Oh, yeah.
Especially from OPG.
Especially invisible
and
ones.
It's the invisible printing plate. That's what I'm going for. It is, I honestly would challenge anyone to come up with a worse one-of-one card than this card. I honestly don't think it's possible. Number one, it's from OPG paper, which I love, but hey, let's admit, a lot of value. Number two, it's a checklist. It's a checklist printing plate 101. And number three, it's almost entirely invisible. Like there's no ink on this checklist. It is so absurdly dumb and stupid that it's amazing. And I don't think I would ever part with it because it's invaluable to me. Because I really believe in all of my heart that I have the worst one-of-one hockey card ever created.
Awesome.
And if I can't have anything good, I'd rather have the best of the worst. So we'll end the show right there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show and you want to support us and chat with us every day on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is in the show description. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and click on the Become a Patron link. Or just go to the Patreon website at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. The link is in our link tree, which is in our Instagram and TikTok profiles. We are on social media. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Have a great end of your week. Enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals, and we will chat again on Monday.